So good afternoon to everyone. My name is Rachel Kudish-Vashdi, and I am senior editor in the publications department of the Israel Antiquities Authority. And together with my friend and colleague, Liat Weinblum, who is a senior IT project manager in the Israel Antiquities Authority, we would like to discuss with you some of our challenges and some of our experience with the DC platform. Before I start, I first would like to take the opportunity to thank the beautiful and amazing DC staff for organizing this conference. It's been very insightful for us. I feel that I gained so much information that they might charge me overweight on the way back to Israel. It'll take a few days to really process everything that we've learned here, but it's really been very important for us. So thank you for that. Today, we would like to discuss something less technical and more conceptual about where to draw the line between raw data archiving and scientific publications. Before I start, maybe I should introduce our organization. In the Israel Antiquities Authority, it's a governmental institution that is in charge of conducting some 300 excavations per year. There are very small excavations that would last between 2 days and a month. There are larger scale excavations which span several months, and there are very large excavations that can take several years. So, according to Israeli law, each excavator must produce a scientific site report at the end of his excavation. Now, of course, that when an excavation is ended, it takes some time until you produce a scientific report because you have to process the artifacts, you have to work and think and work in the library. But this is mandatory, so you can understand that we have hundreds of site reports and articles that are coming in all the time. So we've been publishing archaeology, according to the law, since 1961. We've been publishing journals. We have journals that are still working today since 1961, but they used to only be in print. As of 2004, we built our first digital platform with our first journal called Archaeological News, which would give the first impression of the excavator within a year of the completion of the excavation. Later on, we started publishing synthesized articles and thematic journals, and even monograph series called IAA Report. IAA is Israel Antiquities Authority. So I knew this would happen, sorry. I'm not gonna break anything. So all these journals and publications were mostly researched in the library. What was online was usually reached on regional level, universities and archaeologists and researchers in Israel who knew that we had our publications. But then we decided, of course, that we wanted to outreach and get to the global community and share our information with as many people as possible. And that's how we encountered DC platform. So, as I said, I would like to share with you some of our insights. So we'll start with the first thing. Okay, so I think the most important thing to know about an archaeological excavation is that it's an irreversible process. Once an archaeologist comes to the site, he starts taking out soil and revealing stones and artifacts. You cannot put things back together and call a different archaeologist to come and re-excavate the site, okay? So what our most important responsibility is documentation. And the better we document, the more information we have. And then even though the archaeological excavation is an irreversible process, but you can re-evaluate the data that the archaeologist retrieved during excavation. So our topic today really relates to what we do with all these vast amounts of of data, which come in all kinds of different formats, and they relate to different specialists, because an excavation can have coins that will go to the numismatics. We have metal artifacts that will go to metallurgy laboratories. We have radiocarbon dating in different institutes around the world, and a lot of specialists, and all these people come together, and all their input is going to be integrated into one publication, which is called a site report. So you can understand that a site report can be 100 pages long, it can be 500 pages long. So that would, usually the length of the publication will also really say if we're publishing in a journal, an article, or a book and a monograph. So I would like to show you a short video. This is in the era of digital archaeology. We really trying to see, we document everything. It's became easier because it's not an archaeologist writing his excavation, his diary, but it's retrieving a lot of information. So this is an example of the database for how we take all the data from the excavation. So I hope it works. Okay, in archaeology, archaeological excavation is documented every day by date, and every wall, every architectural feature, every find is documented on a plan, which is drawn by surveyors and draft persons who are in the excavation. And this is a daily task, and it's updated all the time with a description, mainly in Hebrew, sorry. But you can also go down the resolutions and check loci, wall numbers, basket numbers, according to date, you can see. You can zoom in and see the walls. And there's a description of each basket, what was found, and of course the photographs that were taken in the field. These are not photographs for publication. Okay, so this is a platform that Liat was developed with a team, and this is the platform which every archaeologist going to the field must use to document all the finds from his site. But once an excavation is finished, we are going to the laboratories now. And now we have 3D scanning of all kinds of artifacts. We have organic laboratories. We have 3D models that are made, okay, by architects. And we have glass finds that are processed and cleaned, and pottery that is mended by curators, metalwork, and petrography, and of course carbon-14 dating of all kinds of organic matters in the laboratory. So at the end of the line, we have the publication. Okay, so how do we integrate all this vast amount of finds and data that we preserve, but how do we decide what goes into a publication? I think this is one of, and of course the conservation that always comes after, which also we like to have as part of the site report. So really, as you see, we have a lot of information, a lot of data sets of all kinds of formats, and we have to bring them back together. Okay, so now that we have a lot of, not all, but we'll have a lot of parts of the puzzle, how do we put the puzzle together and show the picture or the understanding? This is where the excavator/researcher, because for us, our excavators are all either masters or PhDs, and they write academic articles. And their main task is to turn all this data into something that is meaningful, and to put it in context, of course, and the interpretation. That is what they studied so many years for, is to really apply their understanding to what they see in the material. And of course, at the end, we would like to share the data to increase its research value, because I said that an excavation is an irreversible act, but you can always reevaluate data. So if you document things right and you preserve the information, the raw data, that's something you can turn back to and you can reevaluate, and some other researcher can come and he can reach different kind of conclusions based on the same data. So this is really some of our main responsibility is how to not only preserve and interpret, but also to allow for future research. Okay, so to make a story short, so we start with an excavation in the field, and we have, you saw the DANA program to document all the raw data. Some of this data will find its way to the archive. We still have this kind of archive, you can visit it. And like I said, the main task of the excavator researcher is to interpret, to offer his interpretation for the finds, and that is what's going to end up in the publication. This is a screenshot from our publications portal. We just launched on January 14th this year, so we're practically new with DC, and we're trying to work out a lot of things and get the maximum with the help of our great consultant, Courtney Barkley, which is amazing, always available, even though we have a 10-hour difference between Miami and Israel, which is challenging. And of course, Promita, who we first time met in person after hours of Zooms. So it's always nice to meet people. So right now we have three kinds of publications. Atikot, which in Hebrew means it's a transliteration. It means in Hebrew antiquities. Kadum, also a translation, which means in Hebrew ancient. And IA reports, which is our monograph series. Okay, so like I said, we have a lot of data sets, and we look at data as a resource. It's a resource that we can always check and recheck and reach new insights by combining the data sets in different ways. Because an archaeologist who looks at let's say a metal figurine would see some kind of an ancient artifact which is related to some culture, but an art historian would like to evaluate the finding in relation to other artistic, and a scientist would like to know what kind of metal the statue is made of. So there are a lot of ways to evaluate the same data. Okay, so we don't accumulate data for the sake of accumulating it, but we want to use it as a tool. What we don't want to have is data tombs. Okay, this is something that we really have to try to prevent, because I think that if you go to any archaeological school or institution around the world, they all have these huge storehouses with great amounts of boxes and pottery and finds that unless you ask to reach the sixth floor, minus sixth floor, you'll never see them. And so that is something that we don't want. So just to have an overview of what we publish, we have short site reports. This is actually an HTML-based platform that we are working very hard with Promita, and now Eli is also, we also got Eli into this, that we would really like to exhibit on DC platform, so we're waiting. These are the short site reports that come out within a year of the small excavation. Then we have long site reports that they are peer-reviewed, and they have a synthesis. I mean, it is an academic paper. It is not just documentation. And then we have monograph series of books that have chapters, multi-volume books, and these are also online on DC. And these are the synthesis articles, and we are aiming at adding also conference papers. Now I would like to take you on a tour of what we've accomplished, and maybe here, if there's some of you have a better experience than us. So we'll start with this. I'm going into Atikot, which is a thematic journal. Each journal has a topic. Okay. Just to give you an idea what an article looks like, this is an abstract keywords, of course. We have a cover page. This journal publishes only in English, always have a site report. Of course, a photograph of the find, the architecture. We have here an Iron Age fortress. We have a plan, always a plan. You cannot show all the levels of the plan, but we show what has at the end of the excavation. And we have 3D models that we connect to. Okay, so this 3D model means that you can see exactly what the architecture looks like. You can play with it, and you can see the height levels, and you can even measure it on real time. Okay, so once I use that measuring tool, I draw a line, and this is GIS located. So you have the location. I think we should see here, you see the metrics here, and it tells you how many meters it is width-wise and lengthwise. And now we're going to a different volume. And here we will see an example of a very interesting find lately published, which are lion-headed handles made of bronze. Again, we will start with a location map showing where the excavation was conducted. These are the graves where they were retrieved from. This is the finding. This is where it was found. And of course, we have the final photographs and section. Then the articles has all the measurements, all the information, the data. And then he goes on, the author, to show other examples from other graves. And we combined here also the results of the XRF analysis of the metal. 1 minute? Oh my God. Okay, and here you can also see a 3D scanning. So again, an art historian will probably want to know what it really looks like. I mean, from the photograph, you cannot really see a lot of things that you can see here in the 3D. So I think I'll skip that, I'll skip this one. Okay, so really, our aim is to translate the all these sets of data and to make them, to increase visibility, to encourage, of course, a discussion, and to share our data with the larger communities all over the world. And of course, we want to allow research with while combining different the data in a different way. So now they asked me in the interview how my job changed before DC and after. So I said I just got more jobs to do, because now I used to be an editor sitting at the end of the line, accepting articles and editing them. But now I have to also be a gatekeeper, because I don't know how it is by others, but archaeologists hear that they can give you videos and give you this. So they start sending me all these jumbo mails with large amounts of material. And yes, we have to try to use them responsibly. We have to avoid data overload. We have to maintain scholarly standards. We don't want to just throw in raw data. We want something that has been processed. And of course, this means that we should train our archaeologists and our authors to say what they can do, what they shouldn't do, and what they can, how they should do things. And the editors, of course, we have to also train our editors how to act as doorkeepers or gatekeepers and define the boundary between archiving and publishing, because we don't want to turn our publication platform into an archive. We have an archive. We don't want to turn this into an archive. And of course, on the repository level, we do want to, our goals are really to introduce the visibility through the DC platform and to increase global reach. I can tell you that in the since we've been on DC platform, we get submissions from out of the country, which we never got before. So now it's really nice. And of course, also to balance between openness and curated scholarship. Thank you very much.